scrape the valves.
About that time.
We did. When we put it all back together, my one buddy said to me, "Here, Ron, here's the oil." He says, "Very long time." Mosquitoes.
Your microphone is on.
I'd like to call to order the Washington Township Planning Commission meeting for July 9th, 2026. If you would, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome. If you would, roll call, Dana.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Thomas?
Here.
Mr. Jaski?
Here.
Mr. Chaplin?
Here.
Ms. Hall? Here. Mr. Robb?
Here.
Mr. Dukai?
Here.
And can we get approval of the agenda? Oh, I forgot to put the date on that. What was it?
So approved.
Get the approval.
only
What
one.
was the date on it? I'm sorry, from the previous.
Was it June 11th?
The agenda today for July 9th?
For the last one, June 11th.
11th, huh?
Can I get approval of the agenda from the June 11th, 2026 meeting?
No, the minute.
Or the minute?
So the first is the
Sorry.
agenda. That's okay.
Did I do the agenda already?
Nope.
Oh, let's do the
We're
agenda.
heading that direction.
My fault. Approval of the agenda for the July 9th, 2026 meeting.
Approved.
So moved.
Yes, so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And can I get approval of the minutes for the June 11th, 2026 meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We have a couple correspondence tonight, or would that be appropriate time to take those, Dana? There were a couple of correspondence received that were emailed in. Everybody should have a copy of them. Did everybody get that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We'll have those received and filed with the commission. And we can move forward with public comment on non-agenda related items. So if there's anything anybody's here to speak on beyond what is on tonight's agenda, now's a good time to come to the podium. Seeing none, we can move forward we'll close public comment on non-agenda items and move to new business. Orchard Ridge Church of the Nazarene, minor site plan revision, parking lot expansion at 64600 Van Dyke, parcel 2404-16-100-023, east side of Mound, south of 30 Mile Road. Is the applicant here tonight? Okay, great. Yeah, if you don't mind, come to the podium in case we have any questions. I'll start with Mike, if you don't mind. You want to go over your comments?
Do you want him to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Oh, I'm going to let you go first.
Oh, okay. Great.
Well,
You should have a copy of our review letter. The applicant will explain exactly what they're doing. Our main comments are just related to the parking lot that was previously approved. The spaces are only 9 feet wide. So any approval, and Kayla can speak to it as well, process-wise, but should include a note that those will not be 10-foot wide. The aisles were also 24 feet in the existing parking lot. They are proposing 26-foot aisles, which should not have any issue with circulation or movement. The parking spaces, if you force them to be 10 feet, they're not going to line up with each other, and it'd be really goofy with people trying to pull in and out. It'd be confusing. So we're just recommending that stay the same. We have a couple comments related to just labeling existing utilities on the plan. The retention basin for this site, when it was originally designed, it's designed for the entire property. So any additional impervious area will not detrimentally affect that. There is some storm sewer that during an engineering review we'll need to ensure just has a sufficient capacity for the additional pavement. Don't expect that to be any major issue. There is a small island that they're proposing on the southwest corner of the lot. It's actually a striped off area that may work better as an island. It may actually save a little bit on pavement, same amount of curb, but you can put less asphalt there. So we're making that recommendation as well. Everything else looks really good.
Are the items that you had listed mainly things that could be handled during engineering review?
Yeah, I think our typical process with these couple little things, if they change that island, that could simply be something that, and add the labeling to the water main that we've noted. That could be something that we could handle during a sign-off from the planning commission at the pre-planning meeting. And then, yeah, the storm sewer issues we'll handle during engineering.
Perfect.
If I may, a number of years ago when we approved this development for the church, help me remember, did the church buy a larger footprint than what they have right now and are asking for addition to the parking lot?
A larger footprint of like the land that it's on?
Yeah.
This is on a pretty large parcel. I don't know the total acreage off the top of my
Yeah.
head, but it's
Yeah.
quite large. There's a lot of green space surrounding the parking in the building. So plenty of room to expand both the church and the parking.
Oh, that's good, okay.
Yeah.
I stopped in, it's a very nice church.
Yep, very nice facility.
And
Thank
then,
you.
I'll go to Kayla, if you don't mind.
So as mentioned, this application is for Orchard Ridge Church on Mound Road. They are expanding an existing parking lot. So in our minor site plan review, we're looking for things like how that impacts their parking setbacks, their screening and landscaping, and also impervious surface standards. They met all of those requirements. The one comment from our end is just that at this point, with the current building footprint, they are over our maximum parking standards that the township has on hand. However, we just put a note out to the applicant to justify why that may be. We do see that there's proposed building expansion that was approved through past site plan reviews. We assume that's why the parking's being expanded, but just want that justification from the applicant so that we can note that that standard has been met. And that was it from planning side.
If you'd like to comment or present what you're looking to do and expand on what we've got.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm Steve Lodge with the church. I'm a member there, also a local resident here. Growth is why we're looking to expand this. We opened the church in 2021, and we've seen a pretty consistent growth year over year. Attendance at our services in, I think, September of 2024, we were getting full in our sanctuary, so we went to a second service, and that has continued to grow about an average of 16% year over year. And so, though we're not filling our sanctuary between those two services, we are filling our parking lot at times. And so, what we've noticed is we have, people that are stationed at the door, ushers and security teams. They'll see people come in and they can't find a place to park because all of the spots are full, and they drive away. And so even though to accommodate that growth that we've seen, we've added the second service, that's not enough. And so that's why we're looking to add on this parking in the direction that's shown. So it's really that. We do, as she mentioned, we are looking at expanding our sanctuary as well. But that's probably sometime in the next 5 years. We're also looking at putting on an addition for Sunday school classrooms as well for youth areas. Youth program is growing as well. And we host several community events. We have actually a car show. So any car enthusiasts want to come to our car show on July 26th. We have a car show every year that we put on for the community, no cost, just a thing that we do. We do an Easter egg hunt every year and things like that. So we're trying to accommodate those events and our regular Sunday morning worship services with this expanded parking. So it'll give us an additional 82 spaces. We'll certainly, as we expand the sanctuary, we'll maintain the 1 to 3 or less of parking spaces per seats so that we can maintain that. At this time, we don't expect to expand the parking, with that expansion of the worship space. This is in preparation of that, but also to handle our current needs that we have right now. So the one thing I'd like to mention, the corner that you mentioned is that southwest corner, the large purple striped area. We intentionally squared that off because what we found over, especially this past winter and other heavy snow winters, that we don't have a lot of place to stockpile snow. It takes away parking spaces, and so that's why we'd like to keep it squared off like that so that we can snow pile up in those areas and those two corners to kind of help with that. So that's the reason why we had that squared off and striped.
Seems like a reasonable request.
Anything else I can answer for anybody, or?
Any commissioner comments or questions? With the planning items, is it something that we would need him to revise and come back, or are these things that could be handled through pre-planning?
No, we really just needed that information to justify the expanded parking, so that satisfies our end.
Okay. And engineering can be reviewed, or the comments from engineering, so appropriate, it could be appropriate for the commission to entertain a motion on this to approve or
With revisions.
with revisions for, okay. Would anybody like to make that motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minor site plan request for the Orchard Ridge Church of the Nazarene located at 64600 Mound Road, parcel 240416100023, for the purpose of expanding the current parking lot. You'll be able to keep the 9 by 20 parking
Thank you.
spaces, because it's concurrent
Yep.
with or it goes with what's there now. And then make any revisions that the planner or the engineer requests.
Support?
You got a roll call, Dana?
Was that chaplain support?
Yes.
Can't tell my voice.
Mr. Miller? Or, I'm sorry, Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Chaplin?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Jaski?
Yes.
Ms. Hall? Yes. Mr. Robb?
Yes.
Mr. Dukai?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad things are going in a way that we're growing, right? That's
Yeah, come and visit us.
I appreciate your problem. I go by your church every Sunday on the way to Woodside. We have 3 services, and there are areas of the lawn that are getting torn up because there's just not enough parking
Yeah.
in the overlap between services. So we understand what you're going through.
Yeah, well, praise God for that. Thank you.
From there. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we can move forward to old business. Zoning ordinance text amendments, continued discussion related to regulation of data centers and large-scale industrial uses. So I'll let Kayla open up with, to kind of go over what she's put together for us. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Chair. And this is a little echoey, so I'll try not to bug you guys too much as we're talking here. First, I just want to give a high-level overview of where we're at, and then we'll go through some of the specific ordinance language, let any of the other team kind of weigh in on any items that are outstanding, and then after the Planning Commission discussion, I think is when we've been opening it up for resident comment. So just to put that out for anyone in the audience. So one exciting news, the township did interview several environmental consultants over the past 3 weeks. The township selected a consultant to move forward with. It is a joint team that we're really excited about, formed by Dragon, South Channel, and Drummond Carpenter. So their specialties collectively are air quality, hazardous waste, decommissioning plans, which we're really excited to have someone weigh in on, and then also green infrastructure. So we're really looking forward to working with them. We have a few items that they'll be assisting with, including air quality and heat impacts. Again, the decommissioning plans, wastewater impacts. They're going to weigh in on some of the compliance and monitoring questions that residents in the Planning Commission have had, and then also help us with any other public health impacts and sustainability practices that we should be considering. And I don't see Corinne here, but I do just want to give her a shout out and thanks for recommending Dragon and South Channel, and through them we were able to connect with Drummond Carpenter as well. Also in this time we began working with Michael O'Brien to draft the energy storage system standards. So we'll talk a little bit about those, and we'll continue to develop those with him over the next month. We've continued to refine the draft based on Planning Commission and consultant feedback. So we hope that we have some discussion tonight and that you all continue to ask questions and give suggestions on what you see drafted in front of you. I do also just want to note that on June 28th, the township received and shared the draft recommendations from Corinne Graper and team. We are reviewing these as a consultant team. Those were the recommendations that were brought to the Planning Commission at our last meeting. We do have those in hand now. We'll be going through them and hopefully be able to incorporate some of those things, or at least talk to the Planning Commission about those items at the next meeting. Any questions on those items before we dive into it? Okay.
I mean, the one thing I know, I was kind of reading through I know we have the sound expert. I didn't see a whole lot about the infrasound in there. Is that something that's still being worked on, or is that just not going to happen?
Yeah, so that's a great question. That was actually one of the recommendations that was in the residence draft. We brought that to our acoustic engineer, so he's looking at that.
Okay.
We've sent some additional information on octave measurements, and so he's doing some background research to figure out, how do we measure it, how is it enforced, and
Yeah, I
is
just
it
want to make
practical?
sure we weren't completely, I know we're not done. This is something that's not going to be done overnight, so I'm reading through again, and I'm like, God, I thought we were going to do something with that, so, good, okay.
Thanks. Okay.
Great,
Awesome.
thank you.
So I'm going to jump to page 2. Some of these are quick comments, some of them will take more time, so if you get lost as we're going along, just let me know. Page 2, any of the text highlighted in yellow in your draft here is language that's new since last time. There was a request from the Planning Commission that we clarify how building footprints are being measured, whether we're looking at a single building or we're looking at total combined square footage on a site. So we've clarified that language. If you have any further questions about that, just let us know.
Thank you.
Yep. Page 3, you now see a definition, not for battery energy storage system, but for energy storage system more holistically. This was at the recommendation of Michael O'Brien, again, who we retained for emergency services and energy expertise. He matched this definition up to what's in the fire code and building code, and so that'll allow us to make sure our standards are hitting the right marks for those items. And then we did add a definition for temporary power outages at the request of the Planning Commission as well.
Real quick, and it might be a question for Christine, has the Washington Township Fire Department adopted the IFC 24 yet, or is that something they're working on?
Not yet.
Okay, just curious.
What is that?
Oh, International Fire Code.
Thank you.
2000, I'm sorry, acronyms, my fault. Yeah, I was just curious, our fire department wants to as well. So.
Jumping to page 4, you'll see a new definition for time average sound level. We'll get into that table a little bit, but we were talking back and forth with Darren Brown and really wanted to capture both the maximum sound limits and average sound limits, recognizing that a lot of these uses, not just data centers, but some of the large-scale industrial are 24/7 operations. So that allows for monitoring of some of those more nuisance noises that are just continuous. Okay, page 5. This is where we get into some of those items that are newer. So Chair, I'd like to ask your opinion. We can go through these and then return to discuss, or I can quickly run through these, let you guys discuss, and then go through the rest of the ordinance.
Real quick, before we move to that, the sound stuff, since it was on the last page, can
Yeah.
we touch on that real quick?
Yeah.
I know there was talk last time of the Rochester Hills ordinance about the sound monitoring, and somebody had passed along the web, their version of their ordinance. Is that something that could be incorporated into ours? I mean, it seems logical that, first of all, enforcement of noise ordinance is a nightmare. Just because you have to have somebody with properly calibrated equipment all the time, but having that equipment mounted to the buildings and reporting that to us, I think would be critical for us, just as a ordinance enforcement division, just trying to do it right to the point where it would even be enforceable. Because any big company is going to have the equipment to do this stuff, whereas a municipality, the money it takes to keep that equipment calibrated and up to speed it's a lot of, it's constant. It's yearly, it's something you have to constantly do. So it just seems to me it would be nice to put that back on them, that expense on them. So I don't know if it's something that could be done.
Yeah, we can definitely look into it. I think what we're struggling with right now is, do you require it just for data center uses, or do you require it for any operation that's 24/7 noise? And so looking at those things, but we are planning to talk to our environmental consultants about that because they have more information on how some of the other monitoring occurs with air quality and heat and those items. So if there's a way to pair it with those things or regulate it consistently.
Or could this be something that could be a condition of a special land use, being that the fact that all
Exactly,
these
yeah.
would be special land uses?
Yeah, I think our opinion so far is that that's the more appropriate place to put it in as a condition, unless we can figure out a way to do it objectively within the ordinance
Yeah.
and apply it to uses consistently. But we're working on it. and-
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. I just saw it's in theirs. I didn't know how you could tie it in with, I understand not singling them out, but yet, if they have to go through a special land use process, I just don't know is that something that's defensible as part of a special land use to require that when you don't require it at a industrial facility down the road?
That's going to be tough. We'll certainly look into it, but you have to treat similar uses similarly. So if you've got an industrial use that makes a lot of noise, why would you not have them do noise?
And maybe we would. I mean, if they're 60,000 square foot, they're going to come here for a special land use anyway, so maybe we would. Okay,
That's something we can certainly look into,
okay.
because I
Sounds
know
good.
noise is very unique.
Yeah, I liked that, just from an enforcement standpoint, just because I know it's a nightmare. Sound complaints are awful to deal with from a building
question.
department standpoint. So if
No
something like
question.
that would be fantastic, but, okay. Sorry.
Thanks. On my question, sorry, going back to that, we can go item by item then, and you guys can just add in your comments, questions as
I
we.
think that'd probably be the easiest, don't you?
Perfect. That works great for me.
Everybody good with that?
Good.
All right.
Awesome. Okay, so fun stuff. Zoning districts, location, and siting. We wanted to start getting this language into the ordinance so the planning commission can respond to it. I do want to acknowledge that we haven't necessarily had the discussion at the planning commission level of what zoning districts do these belong in, what should some of those setback standards be. Based on what we've heard, we put some recommendations in here. Again, these can be modified. I would encourage the planning commission to discuss them. I've also I've printed zoning maps so that you can reference them as we have this discussion. But the way it stands right now, we are recommending that accessory data centers, which, as a reminder, that would be a data center that's in an existing primary use that's allowed within that zoning district. It's located in that building and it's less than 10% of the footprint. So that's more of like your very minor data centers that may support a small firm or banking institution or even a school.
Is that limited to within that unit?
Yep, it has to be
No
in that
accessory
building.
units?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
I haven't never turned hearing yet. Can you talk to us too?
Yep. Sorry.
Speaking of the microphone.
I asked if it would be required that an accessory unit be within the existing building that it served. And she confirmed that it would not be able to be an accessory building. Like, if they had a 10,000 square foot building, they couldn't build a 1,000 square foot outbuilding as a data center, accessory data center. It'd have to be part.
Sorry, all this speaking is about the data center, is that correct? That's on-
This ordinance draft is about data centers and how they fit into our ordinances. So we'll continue and we'll get on to public comment and that'll be a time. That's fine. I'm glad you pointed out that you can't hear me because otherwise my IT, the communication staff will be mad at me later. So that's good. Thank you.
Thank you, sorry.
All right, so accessory data centers, allowed as a special land use only within the general commercial, office, industrial, or industrial research technology zoning districts. Again, that's just within an existing building, and these are just recommendations for the Planning Commission to consider. Small-scale data centers and large-scale data centers as special land uses only within the industrial zoning districts. Now, again, you have that zoning map in front of you, so you can see what those areas are that are zoned industrial today, to be able to think through what that looks like. In addition to the zoning districts, we recommended some locations for vehicular ingress and egress, like we've done for other specific use standards. So focusing on access from regional roads or major thoroughfares as defined in the township's thoroughfare plan. And that's really to control where traffic is coming from for these facilities. Ideally, we'd be tying that back to truck routes for time of construction, because we recognize that's a different impact from the ongoing facility traffic. And then physical distance setbacks. We set these as well, and these are something that we really want to talk about with the environmental health experts. There's some mixed data out there, so from that research, we've crafted the most defensible standard that we can at this moment in time. But again, we recognize that we have a team of experts that'll be joining us shortly to be able to weigh in on that, in addition to any planning commission comments. So just for some information on how that reads right now, this says that no parcel in whole or part that adjoins property currently used or entitled for residential purposes may be occupied by a data center use. So that prevents a data center from being on a parcel right adjacent to a residential use. And when we put entitled in this ordinance, this has already come up from our wonderful attorney, we'll define what that means. For us, that means a parcel that has residential plans approved. And I know we're not talking about a specific site right now, but what's in my mind is Washington Creek, for example. You have a PUD approved on that site. It's making sure that there's not a data center placed on that parcel immediately next to it. Now, we do recognize that large sites can be subdivided, right? It can create parcels, but those parcels would still have to remain in the minimum size required by ordinance to allow that at least one property buffer from uses. In addition to that parcel item, we have physical setback distances in feet. So for small-scale data centers right now, we've proposed that the use shall be located at least 500 feet from the property line of any existing or entitled residential use, school, childcare facility, medical facility, or place of worship. So some of those sensitive noise areas and areas where we know that there will be children or seniors that may be more susceptible to some of the air pollutants, particulate matter, things like that we may expect with some of the large-scale industrial and data center uses. For large-scale data centers, that setback rises to 1,000 feet from the property line, and that's for any equipment, buildings, or structures that are associated with the large-scale data center use. That's a lot to digest, so I will stop there for some discussion.
Yeah, 500 and 1,000, is that enough? That's my first thought, was it just doesn't seem like it's enough, but I understand there's got to be constraints and there's got to be a reason to go farther. So we would need that environmental expert to weigh in on anything beyond that, is my assumption.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't seem like enough. But I get it, you can't be exclusionary either, but.
Yeah, and I can tell you, the data that we have as baseline right now is recommended distances from transmission lines. And that's really dealing with electromagnetic radiation, magnetic fields, and that recommended distance is 300 feet. So we've gone above that, but it's been really hard to find hard numbers for those physical distances. So.
Well, I guess I'll jump to what, my ASM, wait, what is it? It's the ASME, is the Association of Mechanical Engineers, has been doing a lot of testing on this recently. It's in its infancy stages, and they don't know. There's too much to know, and this is ASME is one of the largest engineering associations that work on codes and reasons for why we reasons for what we do energy-wise and code-wise, and they in their own documents they say they've done a few samples and they haven't got anywhere with it. They're pursuing more, and they're going to be doing more information on what they're going to, they have to find out more information on all this. So not going far enough out, to me, is a problem, because something gets built, and it's there forever, and now they find out, when ASME finds out that we shouldn't be within 5,000 feet of these things, it's too late for us.
Yeah.
And we've approved it. Now, I mean, ASME just started their stuff in May, and their latest information that they've put out is from May. And now they're doing more information, though it's not just this, it's thermal plume, it's the heat islands, it's everything. They're working on all these things, and it's for future code development. Problem is, they're building these things now. It's a problem. So we're trying to govern something for the now that may not be possible 500 to 1,000 feet away from a school where our kids are. I don't know where we go with this. And it's, while we're I mean, I know we've got the moratorium in place right now, and that's what, 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to have this research in 6 months.
Is there a timeline? Do
For
they have
when
a
it comes
timeline?
out.
I don't know. They don't know. They have to do all this research and find out. I mean, it's going to take time for them to, they haven't put out a date when they're going to come out with their next evaluation. They have to have more of these built. They have to see what's going to happen with them. And in the meantime, we're going to put them in our neighborhoods. And I don't know if 6 months is enough. Maybe I don't know. And if you have enough data from, associations like ASME who say, hey, we don't know, that should be a red flag enough that we should say, hey, maybe 6 months isn't enough of a moratorium until we find out what's right for our community. So I know we have to have a reason for a moratorium. We can't just say, hey, we don't want it. But I mean, if ASME is putting this information out saying we don't know, that's a problem. So I wanted to bring that up. At this point, a good point is along the lines of the distances, and that's something that, maybe these environmental engineers can weigh in on as well, but it's something to consider. That's all. I'll stop myself.
How do you go about extending the moratorium?
That's not our call, that is a township board call.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, it's good for 6 months, and I think it would be logical for the board to take that 6 months to get as much information as they can to decide, which direction they need to go.
Yeah.
But there's not enough information out here on these things yet. And we don't know what's going to be. I don't want to be the next,
Too late to close the
too
door.
late, cancer has taken over the neighborhoods because of this, and everybody gets their money from a class action suit, but in the end, that's not the right answer. Anyway, move along. Any other comments? Questions?
Any discussion on
I
zoning
agree with
districts?
you.
As it's hard for us to put together this ordinance when we don't know what we're, trying to protect against. So, good point.
Well, you end up in the situation, and the thing we're trying to avoid is that there are a lot of unknowns, but without an ordinance, we are completely exposed.
Right.
So,
How do you put together an ordinance when we don't know the?
well, you do the best you can and protect yourself as well as you can, and as things change, you can update your ordinance. I
True.
understand the point that Barry's making is that we don't know the ramifications 5 years down the road, but some protection is better than none. We can try and do a moratorium. Didn't work out great for Lennox. Didn't work out great for Celine. So, I'm just saying I think it's better that we take some action than none.
I agree. I agree with the whole, the thing is, once we have an ordinance in place, it opens us up for development, correct?
You're open for development no matter what.
Well, I hear you. But if there's a moratorium,
That's a whole different discussion for a different day. But if
Yeah.
somebody comes in and files an application, you're open,
okay,
all right? So you're better off taking the time, listening to your experts.
yeah,
And we've got an environmental health systems expert team put together.
yes.
I would recommend we take some time and listen to what they have to say. They may be able to build on what your organization has said. They may be able to give us some guidance, a range that we can hang our hat on.
Still can't hear
One
you
that's-
back here.
They may be able to give us a range we can hang our hat on, one that
Yeah.
maybe I'm not comfortable with, but you guys might be comfortable with. And I'm okay with that. But we need something to base it on. It
Agreed.
can't just be based on, we're afraid this might happen.
Right.
That's not enough. I mean, that's a sure way to lose.
Yeah.
And if they're working on it, and they say, you know what, we think we'll have a table out in 6 months, then let's wait the 6 months. I got no problem with that either.
I mean, that
But
report's
if
from
it's
May.
a year and a half,
I
or
mean,
2 years, or maybe whatever, that would
Yeah,
be too long.
And I'm guessing more will come out from them at some point while they're doing their research. And maybe it puts a timeline on it, I don't know. But I mean, right now, as of May, they're saying, we have this information, but we haven't done enough research to give good information yet.
And there may be research in other states that the experts are aware of and can build off of, because data centers are not a new use.
No, and all the research they're doing is not from Michigan, it's from, I think it was Mesa, Arizona, and I'm not sure what the other one was, I can't remember, I read through it, but they had two major ones they were working on, and that's what they had found, with the thermal plume and whatnot, so it is what it is. I mean, again, we got to figure out that there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot that needs to be figured out. We have time, we have a moratorium, and we're doing our due diligence. So I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And let's, worst case scenario, right? If that information doesn't come out before this ordinance is developed, you're not approving any of these uses without a special land use.
Correct.
And so those conditions can come in place too as new data is revealed if our ordinance can adjust.
Sounds
But,
great.
Yeah, ideally, we use the full time to develop a strong ordinance.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, so back to the ordinance discussion then. I had a question on the IRT lot coverage, where it's 70% now. I brought that up last time too. Is that good as a standalone
Wait.
determination?
Oh, that's
You're-
in the
you're
next
getting
section.
ahead.
You're jumping ahead of her.
I'm where?
Can you hold that one?
Hold on to that. Hold on to that one till she
Wait a minute.
goes through.
Get to that page.
I thought you already did.
We're on page 6.
Yeah, this is page 5.
Oh, sorry, okay, sorry. Yes, go back to that one.
This is page 5.
Yeah.
I know where I'm at.
Okay.
At least somebody does.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't see.
The 70% sits out there as a drop from the 80 is a new number, but we don't have anywhere that we justified that. Did we need to put any language in there as to why we want that 70% in that it, maybe it aligns with our master plan or for rural development or rural character rather than just changing it with no reason, sort of an arbitrary change?
We can talk about it on the record. I don't know that we need an intent statement for that because we don't put intent statements on our other zoning districts for impervious.
We definitely would not need an intent statement. Putting it on the record would be fine.
Okay. And then the other question I had in that same section, we're getting into 449B, where we talk about the IRT and the industrial uses. The way the zoning ordinance is drafted now, it allows large-scale industrial use in both the industrial and the IRT. But we limit data centers to the industrial. There are plenty of large-scale industrial uses that are as environmentally and, utility intense as data centers. So do we want to, and there's a conflict the way it's written right now. There's tension between this 449 and 450 where we talk about large scale. So I think we would be best served to reconcile that some way. Either we don't allow large-scale industrial uses or data centers in IRT at all, or we allow it in both, or we have to have some justification for it. So,
How do other commissioners feel about that? I'm okay if that wants to change. The large-scale industrial use, the way that's defined is based solely on building square footage. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a heavier polluter. It's just literally the size of the campus that goes in.
I'm just worried that someone's going to come in with a large-scale, development and say, okay, it's suited for one but not the other, and we end up with some exposure because somebody makes a similarity argument. Large-scale industrial is large-scale industrial, whether it's a building full of computers or a building full of presses or a paper mill or a foundry or whatever.
Well, since the fact that the large-scale industrial use is based solely on square footage, they would lose that argument.
As long as we're covered. I'm trying to poke holes here, so make sure we're covered.
No.
But I mean, that's a different question than whether or not the planning commission's comfortable with the large-scale industrial being special land use in both IND and IRT, which is that's a discussion that we can definitely have right now. That's the way that your ordinance is written currently, so that's not a change, but we can certainly make that change now.
I mean, when I think of the IRT zones, I think of industrial parks, research and development, along the lines of, lighter industrial uses, not heavy industrial uses, something that is more adjacent to some of the industrial parks over in Auburn Hills by the college over there, or, even in some ways down by 23 and the expressway. I don't think of that as an IRT as a heavy industrial area. So I would be in favor, if we're going to resolve any tension there, of moving all industrial into the industrial zoning rather than leaving it open in IRT.
Well, if we leave it open to IRT, doesn't that give us more options? And we're not so restrictive?
Yeah, but is it an option we want? I mean, you get up to
That's hard to predict, right?
Right, well, it's like Barry's question, how can you predict the future? But we've got to land somewhere.
I mean, we're pretty well protected as it is now, are we not? As far as the size of a project?
We are through special land use,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, your special land use provisions for the large-scale industrial located in IRT would be a special land use in the IRT, correct? Large
Yes.
scale?
Yeah, it's a
So,
special land use
in
subject.
the provisions in that IRT in that special land use would allow us to cast conditions on that.
Correct.
And based on what they're bringing us, the commission could lay out conditions, reasonable
conditions.
Yep.
Reasonable.
And-
based on what depending on what they're bringing. I mean, if it's, IRT is meant to be a light industrial type use, but a large scale of a light industrial use should be allowed in the IRT. It's just a matter of what they're going to do to screen it properly or make that transition to the neighboring properties more amenable. I guess I don't have a problem with the way it's written. As long as the heavy industrial is still heavy industrial. Your press plants and whatnot. And if they're going to be large factories, it's going to be harder for them to fit into the IRT, I think. But I could be wrong on that.
Are
What do
you
you think?
asking me?
Am I wrong on that?
No, I think you're right. You have the performance standards that'll be in place regardless. So everything we're talking about with noise would be regulated through your ordinance. That's separate from your zoning district. It's just if there are any uses that you don't want in that particular district. And what I can do is for our next meeting, bring those use lists into this draft so that you can see what those are, and maybe we refine it that way.
Okay.
I just want to avoid having a conflict between the uses where somebody comes in with a substantially similar use and they argue that it's restricted.
Yeah, we have added the definition, so that helps. But I think to your point, if you're anticipating campus-like development in the IRT, a lot of times the site then is likely to have more square footage because you're developing it as a campus.
Right.
So I'm thinking through what that looks like.
Is that something we need to discuss during this process, or is that something the commission should tackle separately with the IRT uses and industrial uses and special land uses outside of this, so that we can keep this process going? I don't think it really has any, other than somebody trying to say, hey, we're data center saying that use is the same as ours, or, fighting us on that. I think we have strong roots on the fact that we can throw it in as a special land use and it's a conversation. Do we need to address that during this? I hate starting to spread out and get off topic. I don't want to say it's off topic, but just to keep us focused on what we're here for without expanding into the entirety of the ordinance, or does it
I
make
mean-
sense to do it all now?
Well, from a legal
My-
and planning standpoint, does it make more sense to address that when we have a future discussion about special land uses or do it here in the ordinance?
My recommendation is that we do it now,
Okay.
because I know it's been, so much has happened in this last year. If you remember, we have our implementation plan as the planning commission, and one of the things that you wanted to address this year was those industrial land uses and commercial land uses. So we're already touching those sections through this process. We might as well take a look
Okay.
at them and discuss.
That's fair.
We can
I
bring
also
that back.
recommend doing it now because we're talking about your zoning ordinance being consistent. And if you say, we're going to put a pin in this and talk about it later, very often later never comes.
So then my
Sounds good.
question would be back to legal. Is there exposure there in the way that ordinance is written currently, the draft? Because we do have, what I outlined with the different industrial uses. Is it too picky? Am I making, more of it than I should? Or
Well,
are we legally protected, do you believe?
Let's find out. We'll go sit down, we'll go through the uses, and we'll take a look.
Okay.
We'll go
We'll
through
add
all the
that.
uses that are allowed in the, IRT and the industrial, and take a
We
look.
can add that to the next meeting then?
Yep.
Okay.
I think, we can pivot after this, but I think one of the things this planning commission has talked about, right, is that right now there's not a big difference between that industrial zone and the IRT zone. So I think through this process, we have the opportunity to define what that really means, and we might as well build up those standards now so that we can better distinguish and feel more comfortable with how those projects move forward. So I am more than happy to work with you on language there.
Sounds good.
One more comment on that section, I think we got to it. 449E, the generator testing. Is there going to be, are we going to require any type of logging of that? So we can request logs and status and data on when they're doing their testing and review it?
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. We're talking to O'Brien about that right now, and also I imagine the environmental consultants. Our understanding is that those generators actually come with a log, and they have to log certain times of power outages and testing. So we think that information is available, but we want to make sure that we have the language correct, that the township would receive that. So in progress.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So staying on page 6, you'll see minor changes to the hours limited for weekday testing of generators. We changed that to 9 to 5 at the Planning Commission's request, so that's been updated. Some minor things here. O'Brien recommended some language about electric gates, mostly having to do with fire safety, to make sure your emergency personnel have access to get back there if they need to. Greenbelt screening. So I wanted to talk to you guys about this. For right now, we're just referencing your existing Major 1 or Major 2 Greenbelt screening.
Sheila, can I stop you before we get there?
Yes.
I did want to talk about a little more on generators. What was it? 449E, the Tier 4 emission standards. I was looking at that, and my understanding is that the tiered ratings are federal EPA ratings. And we are looking at applying a local standard. Without getting
Correct.
too deep into the woods, does the township have the authority to, I think through the Clean Air Act, we do have the authority to apply that local standard that maybe, that mimics that, but if we are referencing a federal standard, does that open us up in any way to them bypassing our local ordinances? Because I know that under the federal standards, these generators are often exempted from Tier 4 if they are for emergency backup power only. So I had a question on that.
Yeah. Thank you, John. And this is one you had sent ahead of time, so I do appreciate that because I was able to do some research on this item.
I figured you'd need a little deeper dig on that one.
Yeah, it's something, again, I want to discuss with the environmental consultant. I think to get to your question, which is really about how do you make sure if these generators are exempt during emergency situations, how do you make sure that they're still meeting Tier 4 and they're not arguing that they're exempt just because they're only operating during emergency?
Right.
So at a local ordinance, I've not found language that goes beyond what we have provided here. However, there's language from Virginia and some of the standards that they pass statewide for data centers that I think we can reference. And again, I'm going to run this by our environmental consultant to make sure it covers that bridge. But I'm just going to read this out loud. So, data centers shall only use a carbon dioxide emitting backup generator in an emergency. During such emergency, the backup generator used shall meet or exceed the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's Tier 4 emission standards. That line is almost identical to what we have. It just clarifies that even during that emergency, they meet those standards. So we can definitely add that in. What I found in Virginia's standard that I thought was interesting is that they specify that data centers shall utilize energy storage as the primary backup power source for a minimum of 2 hours in emergency. So that would be your energy storage system before those generators can kick on. That's not something that had been on my radar previously until I was researching, so I want to add that in, see if we can build upon it. But I think this will get us closer to what you're getting at, so I feel confident there. And thank you for raising the question, because I wouldn't have seen this.
Thank you. I'm good on generators.
Okay. Moving on. Let's see if I missed anything here. Okay, I think we're good.
Greenbelt.
Greenbelt screening. So this is separate from that setback. So we have that distance setback. This is literally just like the area that would have to be, trees, flowers, et cetera. This is consistent with what we do for any industrial land use right now. What I did want to bring up to the Planning Commission, and kind of as a reminder, we had a few months ago started working on landscaping ordinance amendments. Again, you kind of got to this like scope creep, but I'm wondering if we want to bring those back now and we amend those at the same time so that we get to where we want. Because I'd hate to reference your major one, greenbelt screening here, which, if you remember, requires 2 rows of evergreen trees, no diversity of tree species. Some of the tree species in your ordinance don't actually work for this planning environment anymore. So we are starting to amend those. I'd like to maybe include that as a part of this, and then we reference those standards.
I'm laughing because I'm going back to my remodeling and renovation. The 3 most dangerous words are might as well. So, but if we're going to do it, we might as well do it.
Yeah. And those were fully drafted, so it's bringing those back on the table, making sure it all aligns, and then we can refine as need be.
The only comment I had there is the way the greenbelt stuff is reading. Are we requiring greenbelts to abut each other if we have 2 industrial uses where we have one, the greenbelt, and the other, so there'll be a double buffer, or are we just going to call one good enough between uses?
Yep, so I did clarify on this one. For this one, yes. We would require them both to have it.
Okay.
We do not always require that with smaller scale uses, but I think for the scale and intensity of these uses, it makes sense that they would have to provide it regardless. Yeah.
Good with that?
Okay, so otherwise on this page, the language around large-scale industrial uses is similar. So we added in which zoning districts are recommended. We talked about the vehicle ingress and egress, physical distance setback. Kind of same language, just some different fill in the blanks there. So did anyone have any questions on those items? Okay. So I am on page 8 now.
I'm sorry, before you continue.
Yeah.
You know, when we were talking about I saw about the automatic gates that open and close. Is there a restriction on the noise, with the beeping when they go off? Because if it's close to a residential, it's a pretty nauseating sound. Is that the beeping, is that a necessity for an industrial gate, automatic gate, or is that something we can restrict?
So
You know what I'm talking about.
I do, you know what the other thing though is the data center electric gate situation wouldn't be relevant to a residential because it can't abut a residential.
Okay, so it's a good point.
So
It'd only be on a major road.
Yeah,
I would-
and it'd be subject to the noise standards regardless. So.
I did,
I was just
before we
curious.
get on from the large scale, that's large scale industrial uses, my fault. Never mind.
We're good.
Move along.
Okay. All
I
right.
started the market and I stopped.
So page 8 is where we have started adding in some of the language related to energy storage systems. I just want to note that this section's still in development. What you see right now is really regarding like application submission requirements and materials. So O'Brien is kind of focused there. I'll be building out some of the siting standards and what those uses actually look like. So the typical things we think of, setbacks, screening, whatever else we may need to put in that section from the land use perspective. So him and I are both working on that section at the moment. Were there any questions or, immediate issues with what's included there? Okay. All right. Page 10 starts the changes to the noise standards. Again, Darren Brown and I went back and forth on this, and we both felt like it would make sense to add both maximum and averages, and they're regulated slightly different. So you'll see the table that has average sound level limits, those are a little bit lower than the maximum sound limits. The maximum sound limits haven't changed from what was included in this draft previously. As a note, we are moving forward with the sound study. So I know the township is working right now to secure locations for that equipment to set up. So hopefully in the next couple weeks, we'll be good to go on that. And that will determine how some of these levels are set, because we'll actually have good data on what your sound conditions are currently within the township.
Okay.
Darren will also provide us with some information on, how this gets enforced, how it gets monitored, to Barry's point. Sorry, to Chair's point.
Appreciate it.
Page 12, Darren did send over some language for vibrations, but we recognize that infrasound is still a concern, and we're working to look at those standards as well. Hazardous materials, we'll talk about with an environmental consultant, but we recognize that there are standards in the International Fire Code, so for now we've referenced to that. If we need to add more beyond that, we will.
I realize this is still a work in progress on this section, but under the vibration, do we need to add in some language there similar to the noise where we talk about where the measurements are taken, who's certified to do them, et cetera? Because right now, we've just got it as a measurement, but we didn't specify the equipment or, like with the noise, we're measuring from certain distances and heights.
Let me confirm with Darren, but I think the ANSI
The ANSI standard.
Yeah,
Is covered up-
sets all that
covers
stuff.
that? Okay.
Yeah, but I'll confirm
I'm
with
pretty
him.
sure on that, but yeah.
Make sure.
Give me just a sec to jot that down. Page 13, the only changes there, again, were to reference that this is the combined total building footprint for all structures on the site. Okay. All right, page 15, this language is a little bit goofy, so bear with me as I work to workshop that. What we're trying to get at, and we talked about this last meeting, what I don't want is for there to be a site plan approval based on that will serve letter, and then the utility company comes back and says that they can't provide service within so many years, and then the planning commission is stuck in a position of having to decide whether or not to extend the site plan approval until that utility company provides power. So this is separate from just operating on temporary power. This is more like, how long would a site plan approval last? When does it expire? And how does the timing of the utilities kind of work within that system? So I'm still, like I said, workshopping this language. I have a few different routes we may go with that. But we want to make sure that there's some kind of limitation there or something that makes it a little more concrete, that the utility provider is not just saying, we'll serve you in some nebulous future, but that they tie it to a time frame that's reasonable. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes.
Can I go back to development impact statements, number 3? It says for proposal for development of large-scale industrial use or data center excluding accessory data centers. I mean, some of these, if, just saying, you get a company like Iron Mountain, who has a massive facility that may not be all data center, but they have 10% of their building could be. That could be quite a large area if it's a massive facility. If they're developing a building that's going to have an accessory data center in it, why should we waive the development impact statement?
So they would still be subject to their development impact statement at the time of construction if they meet those other standards.
Okay.
I'm thinking more so, again, like because of what I'm seeing, it's usually medical facilities or schools that add within their building some of this
Okay.
data center footprint. So we can certainly require it. It just seems
Excessive.
pretty intensive for that tiny of a footprint. But-
Yeah, and then again, a building that big would be subject to special land use anyway, correct? If it was a building that was big where it was large enough to be of a concern.
Yeah, most of the time, like if they're going to come in with that, they're going to be getting the approvals at the time that the whole site is constructed.
Okay.
This usually would be like they're adding it after the
Adding
fact.
it in a building that exists.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. And then again, they still have to meet all your performance standards. It's just. All right,
Okay. I wanted to jump back to page 15 real quick, because I had a question, and I probably already know.
unacceptable.
I probably already know the answer. But, they're required to provide a letter that says that they're going to be able to be serviced by the utility. Right now, I know that it's different because we control sewer and we control, some things here locally. But there's always a review on that. We have some local review over whether or not that is approved engineering review or board review. Is there something we can do if a utility submits some information to us and have some sort of formal review process to identify whether or not we believe them? I know Mike's laughing because he knows how difficult. I already know the answer, but is there any way we can strengthen that?
Kayla and I had this conversation just about creating trying not to create an endless loop where you have an approval that says this is going to happen, that changes, and then it keeps going back and forth.
Right.
I don't have a good answer for you. I don't know, unless you see an actual agreement between a provider and a user, I don't quite honestly believe that letter is worth much of the paper that it's on, right? If they're saying we're going to serve this within 2 years, well, what does that mean, right? How specific is that? So I think this was a placeholder to kind of see what that means and what this looks like, because I don't know that this is an easy one to really work through, even though this might be one of the bigger
I think all the
triggers.
research I've done says that we're waiting on the state in order to do something, in order to fill that gap. I realize
Right.
public utilities are not the township's purview.
We
Right,
haven't given
and-
up on it.
And the
Yes.
problem is, what authority and what knowledge do we have to call BS on a letter?
Right.
It's
We got
issued by
mine.
DTE.
Kayla, they're good.
Anybody with a computer and a click art can put a click art. We still call it that.
You're dating.
I'm much older than you. Could make a letter. I'm not
Yeah.
accusing anyone of anything, but what is that worth? I don't know.
You have letters after your name, you must know.
Don't trust me on that one.
Ask any builder how long it's going to be till they get their gas meter or electric
Right.
meter. Just ask them.
Right. Yeah. That's an issue with any commercial development that we're seeing. Getting transformers
Yeah.
ordered for just a gas station. DTE says it's going to be 6 months until we order it, but we're not going to order it until your site is within 4 inches of final grade. So figure that out, right? Well, we want to buy them I'm thinking of a gas station developer who's built a lot of gas stations in this area recently. They want to buy 20 of them all at once. Well, we can't let you do that, So this is much larger scale, but kind of the same issue.
Yeah.
Proceed.
All right. Last item from the new pieces on page 16, this just added a post-construction validation study. This is particularly around some of the noise items that we had in there for the development impact statement. This would be to make sure that once they're operational, they're actually meeting that noise standard, that their estimates, the modeling that they did is correct, and that we feel they're within those limits still. So that's why that language was added.
So working through a final inspection, your building inspector, your fire marshals, they go in, they do their inspection, and prior to issuance of that C of O, somebody has to do that sound study. And I'm assuming they do it at operation levels.
Yeah.
Just like they do with a fire alarm test, and then they have to, do they provide us that documentation, or is it a witnessed test with equipment that the township has or doesn't have at this point?
We would be
hire
the
our-
ones inspecting, I know the township doesn't have that equipment, so they'd have to consult, but we have our
Okay.
fee structure set up
So-
to be able to do that.
So can it be put in there that any testing that is required for that sound not be at the cost of the township?
I think that's already the case,
Okay.
yeah.
Making sure that our building department doesn't have to pay for a consultant to go out and do that, that developer would be responsible for that.
That should already be in the fee schedule.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And these items are a little bit unique in the zoning ordinance, I would say. There's one item that's similar to this in the energy storage system section, right? Because technically that stuff's happening after they've already built everything, right? It's separate from what the planning commission is reviewing for approvals, because you're going to have to give a site plan approval before they build. But we put it here anyway, because then if they are found in violation, it'd be in violation of your zoning ordinance, and it allows for that enforcement. So-
And if they do fail that compliance test at the end, I'm assuming the language for what happens, how they remediate, what the penalties are, is all built into the ordinance already?
No, they'd have to
Or-
remediate the situation or they won't get their C of O.
Right, but what if
Exactly.
timeframes, things like that, what enforcement?
Well, they won't be.
The C of O is that's the biggest hammer you got.
Yeah.
Right, but I was just asking specifically, do we have anything laid out that spells out what happens after they fail? They have to remediate, what time frame do they have to remediate?
Typically, on a final inspection, a list is given to the developer saying, hey, these are the items you did not comply with. They usually give a time frame for follow-up, but ultimately, the hammer is, you didn't comply, therefore you don't open and operate.
Yeah,
Right.
and on this item, it's noise, so if they're not operating, they can't
won't
create
be-
noise.
yeah, right.
So, yeah,
I mean, if they start operating, that's a whole nother animal.
right.
Oh, that's a trip to circuit court and get them shut down. That's a slam dunk.
That's
Yeah.
later.
That's a slam dunk.
Right.
You got to have a C of O
Okay.
before you can operate.
Correct.
Okay, any other questions on the ordinance thus far? That's the end of the new items. Going once, going twice?
No, I think I'm good.
Other than that, I just want to make a note, we're continuing to read, study, write, talk to our peers. There's new information, as I'm sure you've all seen, coming in every day. So our file is getting very, very heavy, but we appreciate the patience as we continue working through this. Any discussion is very helpful. Your recommendations have been great, and if you have questions in between meetings, please send them to us, because it helps us know what you're thinking about and be able to research items as well. So we want to keep working on these as we go in between these. And again, we're just working hard to make this database defensible so that we can protect public health, safety, and welfare, not just during the site plan approval, but if there is a potential lawsuit. So, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kayla.
Good job.
Did you want to go further with what you had here, 17 through 22, or?
No, none of that has changed since.
Okay, yeah, I mean, you had struck and put in the violations penalties section.
That was from last
That's
meeting.
the
so-
last one? Okay,
Yeah,
so nothing-
unless it's
nothing has
highlighted
changed.
yellow.
Oh,
it's-
okay, gotcha. All right, so that's just the end of it. Beautiful. All right.
Great present.
Further discussion, anybody I can open it to the public for comment. If you guys would like, state your name and address for the record and come on up to the podium.
Hi. Cecilia Simonson, 11370 Juliet. I just wanted to go back to page 16, because you're saying that if they fail a test, that means they have to be in operation. But if we didn't give them a C of O of occupancy, then how can they be up and running to do the test? That's...
I'll speak to that. I mean, basically, I am a building inspector. It's my trade. When we do a final inspection, part of a final inspection is sometimes seeing what's operating and how it operates. So in order for them to do this test, obviously it has to operate, and we'd have to have the right equipment to, or the right testing agency there while it was running. Similar to like the fire department. Fire department goes out and they run all the alarms to make sure they work before they give their approval. It's the same concept, but with noise. So they'd have to basically stress test the building, for lack of better terms, at the noise levels that it would be maxed out at, provide that test to the building official. The building official can say, okay, yeah, you've complied with what our ordinance requirements are. Your C of O is good as long as there's no other issues.
Okay.
Sorry.
And then on page 6, we talk about a 4-hour testing period for the generators. But it has to be done between the hours of 9 to 5. So if they start doing a test at 4:30 in the afternoon, it is allowed to go on till 8:30 at night if it's a 4-hour test?
No, so this says that they can only be testing or exercising the generators during that time block, so they'd have to schedule it to fit the whole test within that time
Okay.
period.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Carlos Pisano, good evening. Thank you for addressing the Rochester Hills monitoring system. There's stuff that you can get from that. I appreciate that. I emailed the ordinances also in advance, that way you can find them. There's some information, or there's some gaps still missing on the penalties. I think that can be improved. There has to be a way that we can get better accountability. I saw it reads that there's like a 90-day jail time or something like that, but who is going to go to jail, you know? Like, it's, yeah, right. So they're just going to pay the fine and continue. About the stress test, how do we know that they don't just install phase 1 of the project, which is only like 10% of the capacity, and they're going to go, right, they're going to pass, like, great. But then they're going to be up and running with 100% after a year or two, and then we have the issues, right? That's part of the monitoring. I think monitoring is very important. How do we monitor that whatever they're doing, it's really in line with our ordinances? So we have to define who and how we're going to monitor this. I know there's the NC, there's other agencies. Let's really put it there, how we're going to monitor this, and what truly are the penalties for this. And they have to be big enough that either they follow it, or it's not possible because the technology is not there to meet this specification according to the use they're trying to do. Another point I just want to bring out, I was here late, but talking about Rochester Hills and best practices, I also emailed their minutes for the planning commission that I was there. They really include, almost to the point, what public comments say, and that it's something that we're missing in this meetings, as well as the board of trustee meetings. Everything, when we read the minutes, it just says people from the audience just mentioned something about data center. And everything we said goes to the trash. The only way to keep track of this is going back to the videos. And that, yeah, I mean, if we can have the report or actual physical minutes for that, then everyone can be accountable, and there's a record of what people provide and suggest to you guys and everyone involved. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
I don't normally comment on public comment, but this issue keeps coming up, okay? And meeting minutes are designed to demonstrate the actions of the planning commission, the motions, the recommendations, the resolutions, actions taken. Public comment is a time for you to get up and let the planning commission know what you're thinking. Nothing that you say goes in the trash. It all goes into the ears and the eyes and the minds of the people at this table. Okay? Rochester Hills may put more in their meeting minutes, but they are not required to. At a public hearing, when people get up and speak, you'll see a little more in the meeting minutes about what was spoken. But public comment is simply your time to get up and address the commission. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, like they say, you spoke out anytime you wanted to speak out, so I'm going to speak out.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. You're not going to speak out. You're not going to speak out anytime you want to. If you'd like to talk, you come to the podium and you speak. You'll have your 3 minutes, I assure you. I'm not one to cut people off, but I am going to cut you off because you're not going to sit there and throw darts from the. You're going to wait your turn just like everybody else. You can go ahead, ma'am.
Oh, okay. I'm Kate from on Pilgrim. I just have a couple of comments from what you guys said. So as far as the monitoring the sound, I don't know, you guys, if there's anything, or if, like even during construction, I don't know if there's anything about that, but I feel like it would be a good idea to do that for all businesses, like just change that, and everybody should have to monitor their own sound. Okay, and then my other question, okay, is for the green belt, for the setback. Could the environmental experts put it to where the setback for the carbon emissions from the generators, a certain amount of feet for where the setback starts? Though even though the generators are for emergencies or whatever, they're still going to be emitting carbon, and that will still affect the green belt, and we don't know how often emergencies are, so could they see how far those emissions go, and then we can start the green belt, the trees from there? Do you know what I'm saying? That's fair, right? And then the other thing is the utility. Okay, so the letter from the utility people. Could we give them a certain time? Like if you don't get these done in X amount of time, even with the letter, you either have to show proof that you've been in contact with the utility company, or you're like subject to a fine or whatever. I don't know if you guys can do that, but I feel like there should be, you know, at least if we're making them show proof that they're in contact and there's a reason that it's not there, at least they're keeping on top of it and they're not just allowing it to sit there for years. And then that's all I had to say.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Danielle Barrett. I live in Washington. We did perform another gap analysis between our recommendations and your latest, and I think Camille's going to speak on it. I apologize I didn't email it in yet, but I will. I just finished it today. So I just want to make a general comment on transparency. You guys are absolutely making a good faith effort on these ordinances, and we really appreciate everything that's been discussed tonight. I just want to make the comment that, you know, Barry has such relevant professional experience, and Mike, I don't think we could get better advice than he's spoken tonight. You know, just be sure to
say that again if you want.
Be sure to use them. Don't keep everything behind closed doors. You don't have to share everything with the public, but leverage the experience in the room. There's still a lot in that original FOIA that we haven't addressed, and we still need to. Don't let that happen here. So. Thank you for your effort. Keep up the good work, and thank you for listening to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
We're going to put that in the minutes.
It's in my notes. timestamp. I'm gonna go home and show it to my children.
They're gonna roll their eyes.
Hi, I'm Holly Bishop. I'm at 33 in Powell. Thank you, Barry. Thank you so much for caring about us and really asking some of the really big questions. We do appreciate that. Actions speak louder than words, and I've heard many words tonight, but we've been educated about many actions. Some words tonight were exposure, entitled, poke holes, justify, discuss language, open us up, meet standards, unacceptable, protect the welfare of our residents. We have entitled members that make critical decisions, and they exposed us. Can you justify how you felt that was safe and that's protecting the welfare of the residents? Ms. Andrews, I know that you said that you're very comfortable with the decisions that this board or this committee makes. Were you comfortable that they exposed us and wrote those emails? There's a lot of mention about data centers. We were approached with a hyperscale data center, so do we know that that's the right language to use? Is there specific terminology? Because we hear technical centers, IRT, data center, hyperscale. We just want to make sure that we're fully protected with whatever size doesn't come in here. And then just to follow up from a previous meeting, a question was asked, did anybody go to Saline to check out what's happening there? Still nobody. It went from 8 billion to 16 billion, now they're at 43 billion. They've expanded immensely. They're destroying the community, and that's exactly what we don't want. Take a trip out there. My husband and I just went all around the Northeast, and we have seen so many farmlands destroyed. Get out a little bit. Get out of this box. There's a lot of information out there. Also, thank you for going through all the applicants for the health and safety, environmental specialists. Let's really hear them out. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Our sound system is better.
Suzanne Kuhn. I had a couple of questions about some things that you brought up. You talked about the utility hookup and using backup generators until the hookups could actually be handled by, say, DTE.
No.
I had been reading, am I wrong?
That is not true. We would not allow temporary power.
Okay, that's what I...
Not for dirt construction. I'm sorry, I wanted to nip that because that's not the case. Once they get their C of O, if a power outage occurs and their generators kick on, that's emergency power, that's different. But
Okay.
they cannot operate on temporary power, they cannot get their C of O under
All right,
temporary.
yeah, because there's been a couple DCs in Virginia that have, a
We
year
will not,
later, they're
that
still
we
on
will
that.
not allow that.
Okay. You talked about testing and that you didn't want Washington Township to pay for any of their consultants to look at the testing. Why would they not have to pay for using our own consultants? I mean, why would we listen to their consultants when they could say anything they wanted
They'd
to?
be responsible for paying the bill for our consultant.
Oh, okay, that's...
We would retain someone, they would pay the bill.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. And are there any municipalities that have actually been able to fend off a DC with their ordinances? And if so, is it possible to be able to look at their ordinances to see how they strengthened them enough to be able to protect the community?
You might have more information than I do on that.
Yeah, I can speak to this a little bit. So a lot of what has happened, it's not necessarily the ordinance itself, but having enough in the ordinance and master plan that if there's a special land use application, then the planning commission has enough evidence to turn it down, whether it's special land use or planned unit development, to say, no, it doesn't meet our criteria for special land use review, therefore it's not approved in this area. As far as ordinances, they kind of run the gamut, and it's hard to tell if any of those have stopped a data center, because usually it's preventing the data center from coming in the first place, if that makes sense. So you wouldn't
Yeah.
know if it stopped an
So
actual
land
application.
use would be the only way that you would be able to kind of keep that from happening at this point, you're saying?
I didn't hear the first part.
Land use is really the only way that you would be able to keep them from coming in at this point, not
That's
any
true.
particular ordinances.
So it's, in Michigan, you cannot explicitly prohibit a land use, right? So we
Right.
couldn't say data centers are prohibited in our community. We create standards that, limit time, place, manner, impact. A lot of times that's enough to discourage. If there is an application that comes in, then it would be up to this planning commission through the special land use process to consider everything that's in the ordinance and that special land use criteria to determine whether it's appropriate, whether the applicant has met those standards and conditions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Camille Allensworth. I live here in Washington Township. A couple of notes, just based on what y'all were talking about during the discussion, mentioning the generators and that we're referencing the federal standards. We know that in the past, federal standards have been rolled back. Is it possible for us to, instead of referencing the standards, quote them so that if they are repealed or changed, that we're still protected by the same level of expectations there?
I think that's great.
Sorry, Chair. You said it, so. And then speaking about the way that we're addressing the utilities will serve letter, and that's not enough. I just want to know, is that because of this whole situation falling through because of DTE, or is that because, no, okay. And then speaking about the DIS, which is the Development Impact Statement, for accessory uses that we're talking about, those are not required because it's a smaller area. And if it was a very, very, very big building, it would still be a very, very, very big accessory data center. Can we say that the Development Impact Statement is required even if it's an accessory data center, if it's of a certain square footage or of a certain utility capacity,
Right. Yeah. So non-residential site, 5 acres or larger, it's automatically required, no matter what you're building.
Oh, okay.
So
Even if they add it into a big building, okay.
I think it would be, right?
Well, I think that's where, so let's say you already approved a large building, they did their development impact statement, and then later they want to
They
add an
added
accessory use.
interior
I think
use.
that's where the question is.
The
So-
site that it's on would be greater than 5 acres, though, I would think.
But if it's already
Got it.
approved.
Right.
But
If the
the
building's
site-
already
And you're
get
just
approved, they come in
establishing
later.
an accessory use, then typically they wouldn't go back through that, but that's a question for the chair, and I'm happy either way.
So ultimately decide what that square footage would be to
That triggers.
create, it would trigger another development impact study.
Or utility
on an
capacity.
interior alteration. Do we currently require interior alterations to come before the commission in any capacity?
What's the change? It would be a different
Yeah,
use.
But it-
So, yeah.
but would the-
It's not an existing use.
But this wouldn't be a change of, would it be a change of use? I mean, if.
I would think so.
It would be because we're calling it an accessory data center. Right. So,
Yes.
yes. It would be an additional, it would be an additional use.
Yeah.
It would be an additional use.
I mean,
So,
if we have
yeah.
a hospital, we don't, but let's say we have a hospital and they
You know, it's
decide
something
they're-
worth looking into. Put it that way,
Yeah, I'm
something
just
we're
saying,
looking into addressing.
I'm just trying to play, not that I'm against it, believe me, I think it's a great idea, but I'm trying to think of what would trigger it. Because if you have, let's say, a hospital, and they decide to do a record storage area in the hospital within, and you see it all the time in these hospitals, they move stuff around, and it's just an interior alteration. It goes to the building official does their review, and then inspections go out. At what point does it trigger to come to the planning commission?
So in this case, the way that the standards are drafted right now, it's a special land use, even an accessory data center. So it would be coming to the planning commission for special land use review.
Okay.
So at that time, if you wanted to,
Okay.
you could require, but I don't know if there's a size limit that you want to incorporate.
For the development impact study.
That would be the question. Because right now, it's triggered automatically if it's an area of 5 acres or more.
For any property.
Right. But it's a good question of how we would look at that if it's within the site. So if we want to add a building square footage, we could.
Or utility capacity.
Megawatts.
Yeah, we can do that.
How many megawatts this thing's going to serve?
Anyway,
Again, that
That's something
changes though.
Is that something we can look into with the environmental person, or is that something that, would that be more of a code issue?
Well, I think that's a good thing to look into.
Okay.
I did count when y'all started talking. I appreciate the conversation. I just had a couple of other things, so I hope that you'll let me,
Yeah, please continue.
So for the noise testing, I think everyone has talked about that. If they are not compliant, what happens? Like, I know that they don't get the certificate of occupancy, but we also know that, these data centers and any, large scale, any user even, we've seen residential developers come in and say, like, you're stopping me from doing my business and making my money with my property. And so what happens when they say, okay, well, this is stopping me from making money? Like, I think that is a valid thing to bring up, especially like considering the decommissioning aspect of it. Like, we don't want to end up with something that is not functional or serving us at all if it's already built and if we've already suffered through all of this stuff, so that there are some mechanisms in place there. And then I have the things I'll give that Danielle mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something we can look at then, and
Yeah.
You can read all of them, though, please.
We will.
appreciate it.
Pass it down? We will. Perfect. Hey, we can, let's have it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Hello, folks. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I just wanted to real quick thank each
What's
and
your
every
name?
one.
What's your name and
I'm Terrence
address?
McCaskey. I'm running to be your senator here in the township, and I wanted to speak just because I've been getting a lot of inquiries from the residents and DM messages and that, so I want to bring up a few concerns. But I did want to say that by observing each and every one of you, I do believe that you have high ethics and morals, and you're trying to do the right thing for the community, so I do see that, and I appreciate that. I really do. The questions that have been raised to me, it's about the 32-mile road site and the discussions of the moratorium. Is the moratorium true? People are saying that their construction is continuing and that land is being removed. Is this true or not true?
No, there's no.
There was no work whatsoever going on at that site.
Well, there's utility work.
There's unrelated utility work being done in
Unrelated
the area.
utility work.
Is there a large amount of dirt being moved from that facility?
Well, they're digging under the road, but I don't think they're moving a
There's
lot
not
of dirt.
No.
The answer is no.
Okay. So the current moratorium, the restrictions on this project are totally on, so nobody's continuing, okay.
Wait, the moratorium has nothing to do with the project. The moratorium has to do with data centers in general.
Across the board.
But none of the work that's being on that site done. Is anybody from this project still working on that site?
No.
None whatsoever?
They're gone.
They never work.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
So no permits have been issued at all for construction or any other?
no work.
These are just questions that are being asked
No
by
work
by
was
the
ever
citizens.
started.
Okay. All right. What environmental, traffic, water, energy, and public safety studies have been completed? Any as of yet?
We're working on an ordinance here.
Okay,
I don't
so
know.
no studies
If you
have been done?
questions about specifics to a site,
To the site,
what
correct.
I would reach out to your local politicians and get those answers. This is not the right forum for that.
Okay, so you guys are having nothing to do with implementing
I'm
the
a planning
studies?
commissioner, I'm working on an ordinance, I don't work on the daily operations of the community.
No, I understand that.
Okay.
But
You
you're going
you
to
should call
okay
your
and
local
assign
politician.
those propositions, correct? You're not going to assign the folks to do the studies, and you're not going to review those studies?
Your politicians do. The politicians our political figures are going out and getting they're doing the interviews on these consultants that are leading to our ordinances, and Kayla's putting the ordinance together.
What politicians are you speaking of?
What's that?
What politicians are you speaking of?
The
township,
7 board members.
The board members?
The township board
Okay.
members.
Well, can you speak to who's addressing those?
Addressing what?
Who is doing the interviews? Who are they interviewing? Any
We're not,
studies have been done?
well, first, we're not.
Well, it's not the right venue for this. It's
Yeah, I was
planning
gonna say,
commission
this
meeting.
is a planning commission meeting. We're not
But
going to do a Q&A about what politicians
But the
are
short
doing.
answer is our township staff and engineering and consultants are doing the interviews with these people to try and find the right people for that.
Okay. Well, like I say, I'm just asking the questions that the people of your township are asking who weren't able to be here.
Okay.
So I
Well,
appreciate your time and concerns.
They've been here, but, okay.
Well, not all of them have been here, because I've talked to hundreds of them walking.
They should
so a
reach
lot
out
of
to
them
their
have not been.
local politicians.
Well, we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Darlene Hernelstein from Washington Township. I was just wanting to make a comment to you guys. I don't know if you remember, I did bring up probably months ago when someone said something about, is there any community that has won through, backed off the data centers through their ordinances? Eagle Township, Eagle, Michigan, is west of Lansing. They were able in 2024 to put off a mega battery center that they were implementing or wanting to implement on 1,400 acres of land out there. They were able to, get a moratorium in place. They did set a new set of ordinances. So maybe, I'm just, suggesting maybe some of their research that they did might help you guys. So that's all. I just wanted to add that. So thank you again for the.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Steve from Washington. I think I do have the wrong meeting here. Did I hear the supervisor said he'd push this data through no matter what it takes?
Never heard that. You'd probably want to address that at a board meeting, not a planning commission.
Yeah, I don't think I have the right meeting. I just hear that the supervisor is going to push this through no matter what. So, what about an extension to these 6 months? What's wrong with an extension right now? It sounds like you don't have any concrete information, and 6 months is blowing by. Then you're going to be stuck because these guys are going to move in and do their thing.
Again, that'd be a question for the board.
Yeah. And it sounds like it's getting shoved down. I never knew that it got this far. It sounds like it's being shoved down people's throats, this data center. All you're talking about is the data center.
Sure, the data center's gone.
Right now, we don't have one
any
on the
further
books.
than an application for a rezoning.
Right.
And it's gone.
Supposedly, yes.
No,
Yes.
factually, yes.
Well, technically, withdrawal is off, or whatever you want to say. A second opinion? Can we get a second opinion? It sounds like you guys aren't going to give us a second opinion. How if a data center, I'm saying this if now, that you're telling me that it's not on the board, it's not on going to happen, period. That's what I'm hearing right now, correct?
No, it's not. They have withdrawn their application for
Yeah, I heard
rezoning.
that.
There's nothing to stop somebody from trying to apply for something. We can't deny an application, but we do have a moratorium on data centers right now for 6 months from whenever the board adopted that.
Why
So,
can't?
I mean, in 6 months, depending on where we're at in this process, the board has the right to make a decision on what they're going to do with that moratorium. But at this point, we're working under a moratorium and we're working on an ordinance.
Yeah, but that's going to, that more 6 months is going to end, and then these guys are going to step in and do their thing.
I'm sure.
I read his letter, the attorney, the company that's trying to push this through, and there's a lot of, I understand their terminology they use for these things. where, if you so had a chance to put a moratorium, where would you get this water, this electricity, and stop the noise?
We're not. There's nothing going.
I mean, if you're speculating right now,
This ordinance will cover those issues.
even the water, I don't know.
Yeah, it's in there.
You spoke for about 15 seconds, give me
I'll
more
give you
15 seconds. Where is this thing being spoke about? How big of a space or footprint is it? Just speaking of the matter, the data center, how big of a footprint is that supposed to be? I didn't hear it clearly. You talked among yourselves, but we can't hear in the audience.
We don't have one on plans. There's never been a plan for a data center, only a rezoning.
Okay.
We never had a square footage.
But there's been requests for a data center.
Okay, your
Big
time's
time.
up, sir. Have a good night. Thank you.
You also, thanks for your, but you're chatting between you, we can't hear you out there what you're chatting. I mean, maybe we're not supposed to, but I think.
We got nothing to hide, sir. Okay. Have a good night.
Thank you.
You also. Thank you.
Troy Kozel, Washington Township, and I just want to thank you all for all you've done to halt this development and listen to people and all the work that people have done. And I may have missed this, or I don't know if it exists, but we talked about testing. I mean, you stopped one from going in or even starting. And one of the things that we ask you to test is the noise and for the health and safety and welfare of residents. But I'm just thinking to myself, if I was a data center, let's say that one did get approved, and we test the noise and it passes all levels, is there a way to then put something in place where 1 year from now they're required to do another test, or maybe even every 3 years at the township's choosing, so they can't, put something in a year from now, or maybe they didn't turn it up to full blast or something like that? I know there are some, if you put a landfill in, there's continued checks and making sure they're complying. Yes, is there something like that, or have you already discussed that?
That's what I was asking about with regard to the Rochester Hills ordinance.
Okay.
We're really close to getting that environmental consultant under contract,
Sure.
so that's one of our top
We
questions.
did sign it, it was signed today.
Oh, yay, okay.
Perfect.
Great,
So
yeah.
yes,
just
we can officially start working with them.
Yeah, some sort of follow-up, maybe, if we can include that, so we follow up every 5 years to make sure
That's a big concern.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Further discussion? You didn't even get close to using your 3 minutes.
I forgot to tell you, I was up at Sault Ste. Marie and on 9 miles south of Sault Ste. Marie. They have what's called a data processing. There are 6 of them. I took pictures on both sides. It is very, very ugly. Their sound combatant system is approximately 100 round bales of hay. It is directly across the street from the Montessori School, and I have video that I would gladly let you guys see and have, because it was a big deal to me. It is so loud. It is constant day and night, and it contains 6 ant boxes, is what it's called. 6 ant boxes. I think there were 4 generators, and I was surprised there was only 1 transformer, and I don't know what the red, kind of like railroad box is. But this got approved, or excuse me, this got built, and my cousin lives in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and didn't know a thing about this, nor did any of her neighbors. It just got built. Okay, so I'll volunteer this if anybody wants it, or I don't know where to send it.
You could send it to planning.
Okay, thanks, Dana.
You can go on the website for the email address.
Thank you.
A really quick comment, if I may, Chair. I don't think this has come up yet, but there are appearance standards in place at the township level, and they do apply to industrial buildings as well. But that's something we can look at to make sure it addresses some of those concerns, the aesthetics.
Thank you. Further public discussion? All right, close the public end of it. I forgot one thing I did want to, I know I kind of went off topic on early, but the with the moratorium discussion and the ASME study, the big thing I was looking into on that was the thermal plumes. And I know we're talking about the cool roof and and trying to reduce that by reflective roofing, which is a good way to do that. But these things emit a lot of, their thermal emissions is warm. And it's not just, and that's what these studies were, when I was reading up on is, I mean, it can raise the air temperatures for distances, and it varies based on wind speed and all that. And that's the problem I have. And in our master plan, the biggest thing one of the most important things in our master plan is to protect our agricultural environment, in our orchards, and what better way to kill a bunch of trees than to wake them up early in the winter and then have them die from frost. That thermal plume is going to be a major, and I know that's environmental. It might be something we need to discuss with them, but it's also has to do with the mechanical systems they're using. So to be able to, depending on how much, because they're evacuating hot air out of these buildings. That's their whole goal, is to get the heat out of these buildings, and it's just going into our atmosphere. Kind of defeats the whole global warming idea, I guess, too, but it is what it is. But it's something to think about. Obviously, we have time on the moratorium we have right now, but I'll keep an eye on how that study's going. That to me is, if we want to protect the agricultural side of our community, and then we're going to invite in something that's going to kill our orchards, sounds like a horrible idea. And we'll kind of meet, like I said, I'll monitor the ASME studies that they're doing, and hopefully they do them sooner than later. They're trying to do what their whole goal on this AMSE study is to, or ASME study is to basically build a mock-up of one of these things and test it. So I'd like to let them do their testing and get the right answers before we do something crazy and allow one in, whatever standards we have forward. We need to be careful on this. That's it for me. Any other further discussion from the commission? Nope. Thank you for all the hard work you guys did. I know you've been impressive. Did a great job, Kayla. And we'll continue to move forward. I know you have more experts to work with, so that's a good thing. More tools in the box. So I think we can move to close out item 8A for the evening. With a receive and file for discussion. I don't know. We don't have to do anything with that, right? All right. Let's move on to item 9, project update with Mr. Kozak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I won't go through all projects, but just a couple to highlight. RAC Washington, the old Rite Aid at the corner there, all of the underground work, paving work is all complete, and the build out of the new Chipotle is underway with 2 other tenants to come in the future. Newbury South, just north of there, all of their water and sewer is in. They're working on testing of that, and they'll start mass grading and paving of that site. Working our way north, or actually east, Altair Senior Community. They are just doing some site clearing and balancing right now. That's the one over east of N53, just at Beaconsfield there. Still waiting, I think, on some final bonds for them to start on underground work. Mr. C's Car Wash further to the north up at 31 Mile Road. All their underground work is done, and they have vertical construction of the building underway. And what else is interesting? Emerald Creek on the east side of Jewel Road there. Lots of utility work underway there. That's a wet site, so moving a little slow, but they are proceeding along in the process. And then if you've had a chance to drive over kind of in the area we're talking about today, Powell Road is now paved from 31 Mile Road up, or actually from the cemetery It's about halfway south of 31 Mile Road, all the way up to 32, including a new turn lane at 32 Mile Road. That paving is complete, and they were striping it today. So you missed your chance to drive on a 40-foot wide pavement with no lines and go as fast as possible. But the road is paved there now, and I haven't driven it yet, but I heard it's almost too smooth of a new road. So enjoy that. I don't know what that means.
Has Washington Creek started anything over there with regard to underground, or?
No, they just submitted engineering plans, actually waiting for fees to be received on that before that can start.
Mike, whatever happened to that one project that was approved off of 26 east of M53? There was supposed to be a high-rise.
It's the Altair one that I mentioned.
Yeah, that's the senior housing, right?
Two buildings.
Active adult.
Active
adult, 55 and over.
So
Yeah,
what was
that's
it,
not that old.
4-story?
Three.
Three.
Yeah.
44 units in the building.
Okay.
Starting, I would say, in earnest pretty soon with underground work, and then obviously
Right.
they'll start to go vertical. after that.
Okay. That's right, Beaconsfield.
Yep.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Thank you.
One more quick question. Mound Road, when do you think we're going to pave it? I got to ask you every time.
You gotta ask that one every.
So that project is in the TIP program, and it's
I thought you said maybe next year.
next year. It's in 2027. Am I lying?
2027 is the hopeful, yeah.
Hopeful.
I believe
It
that's
was
the
originally
first piece.
28, and they said they may
I
move
thought it was
up.
26.
No,
No, definitely not this year. Definitely not
It
this
is
year.
right now.
They'll be doing some crack sealing on Mound. I think I mentioned 27 Mile Road between Van Dyke and Jewel Road's going to get a new surface there, including underneath the bridge, which is in pretty poor shape. And there's one other section that's getting an overlay, and I don't want to tell you the wrong spot, but good investment on paving work still in the township this year.
Great.
Fair
Hey,
enough.
Mike, what's going in up of Mountain Road to a little bit north of, I think, west? They clearing a whole patch.
Just north of Odessa Farms, that big residential.
Just
Individual.
a single-family home that has.
There's no
cleared-
sign, it's just,
Yeah, just a that's all that's proposed
It's gonna
there.
be
It's just a
single-
home. Yeah.
One house.
Yep. A lot of trees coming out, but
Yeah.
I believe it's a big estate house.
Yeah.
thank you.
Great. And move forward to, what? Oh, hi.
What?
There are multiple installers working throughout the township right now, and requests, I believe, for even additional ones. I can't tell you the specific areas. I know DPW's been working very closely with them in the Department of Roads to stress the importance of continued restoration as they work through the township. But unfortunately, they have a right to be in the right-of-way. That's what the Metro Act was specifically created for, and it's a long and arduous process. That's all I can tell you. I know there were, sorry, Dana, I just want to add one more thing.
No, go right ahead.
I know there were historically over the past, let's say 10 years, 15 years, strong resident requests for broadband service throughout the township. It's all just seems to be coming at once, unfortunately.
DPW can give you more of a narrow, like
Of where they're
they're,
at.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to give you the wrong neighborhoods.
Okay.
They obviously have to restore anything they disturb within anywhere, actually. So most of those pathways, I believe, are all concrete at this point. Obviously, much easier to cut out a section of concrete if they do cross it and don't just bore underneath it. A little bit easier to repair, and it really becomes a seamless repair at that point.
Township Board update.
Okay. A couple things. The board voted at the last meeting to enter into a agreement to enter into a lawsuit with 3M and DuPont regarding the PFAS in the drinking water. So that is being handled by a firm out of Louisiana. Probably going to take some time to work its way through the courts, but we may or may not be receiving some sort of settlement in that. Depends on what our exposure is and what the experts determine, the numbers are. So that'll be ongoing. We'll keep you updated when we hear something. But we are participating in the lawsuit. We also voted to approve an additional school resource officer for the middle school. So we'll be sharing costs for another deputy to be at the middle school. And then when school's out, they'll be patrolling in the township. So the board just approved that. And exciting, we updated our contract for more SCADA support for the next year. So that's about it.
Great. And Commission discussion, anyone have anything pertinent to us? Or what you'd like to see, who you want to be?
What do you want to be when you grow up?
All right, and we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Support?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
There you go.
Nice meeting.
Thanks for playing.
There's an Eagle Township.